Greetings comic lovers, today it's Marvel time. We haven't talked about Marvel for a bit on this channel, so you know what? Let's take some time and head over to Marvel Land. It's gonna be a casual comic catch-up, and we're gonna talk about Namor and Sue a little bit. We're gonna dip our toes into the Namor and Sue world because there's just so much history there. Some of it amusing, some of it troubling, some of it both. We're gonna go back to the very early classic era of the Fantastic Four to issue number 9. Namor has a very interesting history because he's actually a Golden Age character who was created way back in the late 1930s at Timely Comics. He was created by Bill Everett, but they bring him back in the Silver Age under Jack Kirby and Stan Lee in the Fantastic Four. It's Fantastic Four number 4, and he shows up and he's amnesiac, he doesn't remember anything. Johnny helps him regain his memories by dumping him in the ocean, and he ends up going back to the sea. Thanks, Human Torch. From there on, he shows up fairly frequently for a little bit, and he's just gonna get more and more fleshed out. More and more is gonna be added to his modern backstory. He's gonna be a mutant for a bit. There's just gonna be a whole bunch of things that are gonna happen with him. But from the beginning, there's this attachment, is that the correct word, to Sue Storm. And there's also a bit of salt because in Fantastic Four number 2, 2018, under Dan Slott, there's this little tiny narration box that makes this comment about how, oh, Sue and Namor, it's fun fanfic, but essentially implying that it never happened. And I've read too many of these stories. Don't try and gaslight me. This story is a very amusing one in the Namor Chronicles because it's not necessarily one you would associate with someone, the Prince of the Sea, sea-based adventures, that kind of thing, but there are a bunch of Namor stories like that. We did one a while back where Namor tries to get Daredevil to help him sue people. He just walks out of the sea in his Speedo to Matt Murdock's office. If you missed that one, I'll have a link to it. But this one also doubles as an adventure you might not expect from the Fantastic Four, who as time went on, you're gonna see all these cosmic adventures, negative zone, impossible man, all kinds of things like that. But in this, they have to combat bankruptcy. Why? Because Reed, he made some bad decisions with their money and the stocks. He played the stonks and he lost. So our year for this is 1962. So we're very early into the Marvel Renaissance era, as it would be called. It's gonna be the Silver Age over at DC, but over here it's the Renaissance because different things are happening. The company has reinvented itself. It's just become Marvel Comics. Before that it was Atlas. Before that, when Namor was created, it was Timely. And so there's a whole bunch of things happening. The Marvel method is in full swing and you're really gonna see it on display in this story. You get some wacky things with that method. And case in point, you can see that right away from the cover that says, what happens when the heroes can't pay their bills? So let's get to it with part 1, the end of the Fantastic Four. So Namor and his secret cameras and TV screen, he's tapped into the news broadcast somehow, and he's watching and he sees that they're broke. The Fantastic Four are broke. Him and his photo of Sue that he keeps in his room. But don't worry about it, because Sue also has a picture of Namor that she keeps, and she keeps it in a book in a room that's secret. One day Johnny burns it in front of her. You know, just normal things. But remember, it never happened. So Namor sees this news and feels that finally, this is the opportunity he's been waiting for. Now they're bankrupt, they're in his palm. Everybody, meanwhile, has turned on the Fantastic Four. They want their money right now. Someone's there demanding their rent. Reed is beside himself that he's made these mistakes and now he's potentially cost them their home. Ben is not supportive at all. He's just roasting him. He's extra salty because Reed is selling off their assets, and that includes his plane. And he just goes out and takes down everybody. He even picks up a cab and starts twirling it around his head when the cabbie says that he doesn't want to pick him up because he heard they're bankrupt. A lot of this story is padding because then he gets Johnny to fly him to Alicia's. Then Alicia tells him that actually he's her white knight. So then he goes back to the Baxter building just in time to see that they've got an offer to be in a movie. It's like a miracle. An offer from SM Studios in Hollywood. $1 million cash to us if we'll star in a movie. So they decide that they have no choice. This is their only option. They gotta go make this movie. But when they get to SM Production Studios, who's to be there but the Submariner, that's right, Submariner Productions. He takes the time to explain why he can afford this. Early Marvel was like this. They would explain a lot of things. It was very much a, yeah, we thought of that. But the reason that Namor can afford this is because he says that he possesses the wealth of the sea. And also, if anything sinks under there, it's finders, keepers, losers, weepers. And then he goes even further. Ages ago, my ancestors witnessed the burying of countless hordes of stolen treasure, and each generation of undersea people handed the locations down to each following generation. Hey, that was on land. That's cheating. Now I have to doubt Namor's whole fortune. He tells them he's doing this because he's bored, and then he just starts throwing wads of money at them, and that's, you know, that's fine. They don't need to think anymore. This is the wads of cash, stacks. We've already established here that Reed's not great with money. Now there are fat stacks in front of him. Also, Sue loves that he's just throwing his money around. He's so masterful, so confident, so good with money, unlike Reed. We then get some more padding, which is the Human Torch and the Thing going out and dealing with their money. The Human Torch goes out to impress some girls. The Thing goes to the beach and then gets mad because there are attractive men there flexing on the beach and picks them all up in a huge pile. How dare they be on the beach flexing? Who do they think they are? I know one stepped on him, but still, it's a bit of an overreaction. So you like lifting weights, eh? Well, let's see ya try to top this, ya muscle-bound goons. I don't know what Reed did with his money, but my headcanon is he went to go invest it in some more bad stocks. I don't know. They don't show Reed, but they do show Sue, and she's out having dinner with Namor in a very just atypical dress for her. You are dealing with Marvel women as written by Stan Lee in the early 60s, so it can get a little rough sometimes. Some can look past that or still find enjoyment in it, others not so much. She wants to know why is he doing this? It can't just be boredom, right? But he says she'll know soon enough, just wait and see. Pretty soon they need to start filming, and each member is supposed to have a different fight scene they're supposed to film. Reed is supposed to go fight a mechanical Cyclops on an island. And there's no script. Namor is very avant-garde like that. Just, go improv. He knows what to do. Just go fight and say the things you'll normally say. It's gonna be awesome. There's gonna be a crew there to film it all. It's gonna be very candid. Don't question Namor's vision. I love that he's directing back in his Speedo. He's just back in his element. Look at how big his forehead is. Look at that classic Kirby Namor forehead. Now, of course, it's a trap. It's a real Cyclops who tries to crush Reed with a rock. And so we get this great flat Reed panel. This fight's a lot more fun than Johnny's because he's off to fight period-typical racism. Remember, you will pretend to fight the natives in the village below, make the battle seem realistic. It sounds too easy. How could a bunch of savages give me any competition? You'll find out when you land. Now jump. This whole segment has big classic Johnny Quest energy. Johnny's questioning why there's no script, but you know what? He'll go along with it. Cash monies. He thinks he's down there to startle these natives with his flame, but little does he know that they actually are immune to fire. How much research did Namor put into this? How long was he planning this? It feels like he just sits there in his Sue room and just comes up with really elaborate plans to destroy the rest of the Fantastic Four, and this one he just had an opportunity for. Johnny gets captured. He does manage to break out and create fire duplicates of himself. It's very early. Sometimes their powers would just be able to do things and later they would not reference them again. Fire duplicates seems like a thing you'd want to pull out more often. I'm pretty sure that Johnny destroyed their village. It seems a bit excessive. I mean, he showed up there and started a fight with them. That part of the movie, because this is still being filmed apparently by camera people who are there somewhere, there's going to be some critiques. Now for the Thing, he actually gets to fight the Submariner mano a mano. It's kind of flattering for the Thing when you think about it, that Namor felt that he was the one he needed to fight, not Reed, who is his competition for Sue. The Cyclops can do that. Although in some histories, Ben is also competition for Sue. They fight, and there is another good panel here where Namor just jumps on him and is crushing him down. His very big Daffy Duck energy. For some reason in this fight at the end of it, Ben transforms back into his human form, which I guess they also film, caught in 4K, but it's way too early for that, so just caught on film. It's just an odd moment because normally when this happens, they make a big deal about it and there's a whole, I turned back into myself, but now I'm a monster again, but we skip that for this because by the end, he's just transformed back. It's a go-to, it's a staple. So now, Namor goes back to deal with Sue, who has not had a part in this movie yet, and I'm pretty sure they're not filming this part, even though I wish they were. That this was part of the movie. He's got hidden cameras everywhere for his proposal to Sue, because that's what he's here to do. Now that he's eliminated all the rest of her team, he can tell her why he did this. For her romance it. No. First, look, a lettering error. It says SN Productions, not SM Studios. Triumphed over them? What do you mean? I mean that I've proven that I am master of the Fantastic Four. Now I'll give you the reason why I've done all this. Now that the others are out of the way, I want you to be my bride. You ask me that? Oh, you fool. Perhaps if you hadn't deceived us, if you'd been honest with us, I might have answered you differently. But now I've got to prove you still haven't defeated the Fantastic Four. Not while one of us remains to defy you. I do like that energy. She's like, no, not without my team. We go down together, ride or die. Although the energy of that is kind of combated a bit by the fact that then she just starts throwing books at him. It's very She throws books. I said it was a couch, but then y'all corrected me and said it was an armchair. She throws an armchair. And then as I've mentioned before in this series, there's always one panel in these issues that tends to stick with me. This one has a couple of contenders, but this one right here is my favorite. It's got both amusing and creep energy. It's Namor hovering at the door with his little tiny fairy feet wings, his little wings of Mercury / Hermes on his feet. And he's there blocking her exit and locking the door. So we have the hilarious little fairy wing feet, but also, you know, he's trapping her her in this room, because he's also saying that she'll never escape him now. That's what the lady's like, you know. If your proposal goes wrong, this is what you should do. I bet he sells this in his Alpha Chad Prince of the Sea series that he's also producing through his studio. Early Namor and Sue can be difficult for some to find enjoyment or amusement in. As mentioned earlier, largely because of how it's written. Namor is harassing and assaulting Sue, but she's written as liking him and at times reciprocating. It creates a troubling dynamic. It did evolve over time, as did Sue and Namor's dynamic in general, which itself has shifted and been portrayed a variety of ways, which I find fascinating to examine. But that core of interest being there, whether one can embrace it or not, some struggle with because of these earlier depictions. And some go so far as to argue that it means that it was never there to begin with. Some feel you can embrace it and just do a rewrite of this era or reference it differently. Others feel it should be jettisoned entirely. Then you get into a whole bunch of things, her merits, preferring Reed, and it can become a bit of a very passionate topic for people. Anger can fly. There is a lot to read for Sue and Namor because it comes up again and again. It still comes up to this day, both in canon and what ifs. But in the early era, it definitely has its rough moments. This keeps going with the creep factor, you know, you are worthy of me, female, in every way. Like, just stop. He then uses a cool power of radar vision, which they take the time to explain again how it works, and he's just grabbing her, tackling her, you'll elude me no longer. It's getting into very tying a woman on a train tracks territory. They're getting into the whole, ooh, I love your struggling. It's getting danger zone. And then the rest of the Fantastic Four break in, the terrific trio. And yet, Sue defends him. She puts herself full on in front of him like, no, don't attack Namor. Her reasoning, it's not nice to gang up on him 3-on-1. That's some flimsy reasoning, and we all know it. We all see through it. She also says that he has a contract and he wouldn't back out of that. They're gonna finish this movie, he's gonna pay them because honor. And that works. And wow, his eyebrows are intense. Look at his huge arched 1920s eyebrows. And so Namor produces the movie and returns to the sea. And they say that he doesn't know their ways, but he did it for love. Another bit of canonical proof that this Namor is way different than the MCU Namor. I mean, Namor, the man without love.
El niño sin amor.
In all honesty, they did change so much about the MCU characterization that it was veering into inspired by territory and not the same character. That's a whole discussion for another time. There was so much happening there. There's actually a lot of nuance to be had with the discussion and the reception of Namor and liking it, not liking it, because some people did like it. There's just a lot to discuss there. How do you feel about the MCU portrayal? Did you like it? Did you not? How did you feel about the changes? Were you for them? Were you not? Do you feel like maybe they should have made it a separate character inspired by Namor and then brought in the actual Namor later, and you could have actually had those two sea kings fight? That would have been cool. Let them fight. Just tell me your thoughts. I want to hear them. It's gotten to a point sometimes in certain corners where people are almost afraid to have discussions because they can become fraught so quickly. I think we need to fight against that, push back against that. Re-enter the idea that it's okay to have different opinions and disagree, and that it doesn't automatically mean that there's some nefarious reasoning or rationale why under the surface. It's not a good headspace to live in, the idea that everybody is coming from a very negative or cruel headspace, and that whatever that is the actual rationale behind what they're thinking. Don't do that. It's not good. Are some people coming from really negative places? Of course. Is everybody? No. Because you don't want to enter this space where you're elevating those negative headspaces above the others and saying that they are more than or more important, which sometimes you can see happening, and then that really puts other fans at a disservice. Anyway, wow, we really veered from Namor makes a movie. The movie comes out and it's a hit, by the way. People love it, even though I'm not sure what type of film it would be, because I'm not sure how they would string that plot together. Props to the editors for making that happen, because you had 3 fight scenes from what I could see. 3 unconnected fight scenes of the various members of the Fantastic Four just fighting different people. One of them, the director producer of the movie. Although that sounds like something worth seeing. I want to see the trailer. It's just Namor, hi, I fought the Thing. Come see my movie. Sue's not in it, by the way, because again, I'm really not sure if they filmed anything with Sue. And if I was gonna see a Fantastic Four movie without Sue in it, I'd be upset. This movie has actually been referenced recently, time of recording, in the Ant-Man Ant-Iversary, in the Hank Pym story. Hank and Janet are going to see this movie, which was a cute nod, a nice reference. Tell me how you think they strung this movie together, what kind of plot they gave it. I'm so intrigued. And yeah, that was a casual comic catch-up that got a little ranty, because that's what happens when when we get casual. Because again, if you're new here, the series is a bit of a different tone. It's less of the analytical, we're examining all sides, and just we're hanging out, we're chatting, we're chit-chatting. Now also, because we've done 3 episodes, we have a playlist. That's my rule. I feel you need at least 3 videos before you can start a playlist. So now we have one. So if you're enjoying this type of video, there's more for you to check out. We've got Lois Lane tries to cook for Superman to win his heart. We've got The Flash harasses the Shade at a public drinking fountain. So many things. As always, I want to hear all your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts down below. Give me some suggestions as to what you'd like to talk about. I've gotten some good ones. There was a Ringmaster Iris suggestion, which was great, but that might need to be a full video because that was a whole 4-comic arc. We will see how it goes. Of course, these aren't the only type of videos. We're going to come back with more in-depth stuff. We've still got that The Spider retrospective. I want to talk about Power Girl going from Karen to Paige, Karen Page. If that's actually going to stay a thing, we'll see once that special comes out. Looking forward to it. Time of recording. Please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you taking some time of your day to spend discussing comics with me, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.